Hi friends, today we're going to explore the plot of the 2022 TV series Wednesday. The series Wednesday begins in the gloomy hallway of a typical American high school. The bell rings, students disperse to their classes, but Wednesday Addams, dressed in her traditional black and white outfit, heads toward the locker room. She appears unbothered, her face expressionless, only her eyes carefully scanning her surroundings. As she opens her locker, her attention is drawn to a quiet sob. Turning her head, she sees her younger brother, Pugsley, tied up inside a locker and beaten. His eyes are filled with tears, and his lips are frozen in fear. Wednesday silently stares at him, showing no signs of sentiment or sympathy. She touches his shoulder and, without saying a word, turns away and heads to the gym, where the water polo team is practicing. The gym is filled with noise. Boys are laughing, throwing the ball to each other. She slowly approaches the pool, watching them intently. Suddenly, she pulls out a plastic bag and throws it into the water. Within moments, the pool's surface begins to churn. It's piranhas, which she brought with her. The water quickly turns red. The players panic, scrambling to get out of the pool, but one of them is too slow. A fish has latched onto his body. His scream pierces the air. The camera lingers on Wednesday's face. Her gaze remains cold, and her lips curve into a barely noticeable, enigmatic smile. She feels no remorse. Because of this incident, Wednesday is immediately expelled from school. In the next scene, we see her with her parents, Gomez and Morticia Addams, in their black family car. The atmosphere is tense. Gomez, unlike Morticia, does not hide his pride in his daughter. "That was spectacular. You really know how to make a statement," he says with satisfaction. But Morticia only sighs and says it is time for a more serious step. They have decided to send Wednesday to Nevermore, a boarding school for extraordinary students, where they themselves once studied. Wednesday does not like this idea. She feels it will be a trap for her and tries in every possible way to convince her parents that she can handle things on her own. However, they leave her no choice. On their way, they stop in the town of Jericho, where they are met by Sheriff Donovan Galpin. He is a middle-aged man with a stern expression. The sheriff mentions the recent horrific murders that have taken place in the county. He is convinced they are somehow connected to Nevermore. Wednesday listens intently to the conversation, interested in everything the school might be hiding. The Addams Family car pulls up to the grand building of Nevermore. It is an ancient Gothic mansion shrouded in mist. The school's headmistress, Larissa Weems, greets Wednesday at the entrance. She is a tall, elegant woman with a perfect hairstyle and a reserved smile. Weems mentions that she was Morticia's classmate and that she expects Wednesday to follow in her mother's footsteps. Wednesday has no interest in her words. She remains indifferent to the school until she meets her roommate, Enid Sinclair. Enid is a bright, cheerful girl who loves the color pink and runs a blog about life at Nevermore. She is a werewolf, but she has not yet fully mastered her transformation. Her room is filled with plush toys and colorful pillows, creating a stark contrast to Wednesday's dark aesthetic. From the very first moments, Wednesday decides to escape from Nevermore. She studies the school grounds, searching for possible escape routes. However, she is caught and sent to the school psychologist, Dr. Valerie Kinbot. Dr. Kinbot is a middle-aged woman who tries to get Wednesday to open up, but she remains reserved and cold. Meanwhile, a real tragedy unfolds in the forest near the school. An unknown creature attacks a man and tears him apart. Sheriff Galpin begins an investigation. He is convinced that someone from Nevermore is involved. Wednesday meets several other students, the mysterious Xavier Thorpe, who has the ability to bring his drawings to life, and Tyler Galpin, the sheriff's son, an ordinary guy who works at the local cafe. They begin talking, and Tyler promises to help her escape. But Wednesday's plan falls apart when she is attacked in the forest. She realizes that a mysterious creature has been following her, one that is likely connected to the series of murders. Now she understands that running away is not the best decision. Her curiosity takes over, and she decides to stay and uncover the school's secrets. The first episode ends with Wednesday playing the cello on the school rooftop. She gazes into the distance, watching as the wind sways the trees. She no longer plans to escape. Now, her goal is to find answers. What is the creature lurking in the forest? Who is behind the murders? And most importantly, what role does she play in all of this? Episode 2 of Wednesday continues as she uncovers troubling links between her family and Nevermore Academy's dark past. Despite the chaos surrounding Rowan's mysterious death, Wednesday participates in the Edgar Allan Poe Cup, an annual competition to determine the best dorm at Nevermore. Following Rowan's apparent slaying in the forest, Wednesday faints and finds herself back at Nevermore. She attempts to convince Headmaster Weems, Sheriff Galpin, and others that a monster is lurking in the woods. However, Rowan's sudden appearance before the entire school undermines her claims, making her seem like an instigator of chaos. Struggling with her antisocial tendencies, Wednesday continues to search for the truth. She begins investigating Rowan's background and the cryptic book he showed her before his supposed death. This book contains a prophecy portraying her as the destroyer of Nevermore, adding another layer of mystery. Meanwhile, Nevermore Academy's social dynamics come into sharper focus. Bianca Barkley is revealed to be the choir director, while Xavier Thorpe is a skilled archer with the ability to bring his paintings to life. Additionally, Eugene Ottinger, an eccentric student, runs a beekeeper club for outcasts. The Poe Cup dominates student attention, with Bianca's team winning every year due to her siren abilities. Each dorm competes by rowing a boat to an island, running through the woods, capturing a flag, and returning to the starting point. Initially hesitant to participate, Wednesday changes her mind after overhearing a conversation about Bianca's habitual cheating. Determined to humiliate Bianca, Wednesday joins Enid's team, the Black Cats, and prepares for battle. During her search for Rowan's book, Wednesday sneaks into the boys' dormitory and finds Xavier's sketchbook filled with drawings of her. Forced to hide under Rowan's bed when Bianca arrives, she overhears a conversation confirming Bianca's underhanded tactics. Anticipating foul play, Wednesday arms her team's boat with a net gun and harpoons. During the race, Bianca attempts to sabotage the competition, but Wednesday's foresight ensures the Black Cat's victory. While retrieving her team's flag from Joseph Crackstone's tomb, Wednesday experiences another vision. She sees herself dressed in white and is told she is a link to something significant. Meanwhile, Rowan's expulsion is announced, further complicating the mystery. Thing follows Rowan to the train station, only to witness him enter a bathroom and disappear. Moments later, Headmaster Weems emerges, revealing her shape-shifting abilities and her attempts to conceal the truth about the monster in the woods. As Wednesday continues her investigation, she discovers a watermark on the page she stole from Rowan, depicting a flower with a skull at its center. Marilyn Thornhill, the only non-powered teacher at Nevermore, explains that this symbol represents the Nightshades, a now-defunct secret student organization. Further exploration leads Wednesday to a hidden space beneath Rowan's bed, where she finds an eerie mask. With Tyler Galpin's help, she later discovers Rowan's broken glasses in the woods, reinforcing her belief that something sinister is unfolding. The episode's climax unfolds during the Poe Cup celebration. Wednesday notices an engraving of Edgar Allan Poe holding a book and quickly deciphers a hidden code. Snapping her fingers twice, she triggers a mechanism that reveals a secret stairway. As she descends, she discovers a hidden library and finds the book she's been seeking, along with images of her parents and other former Nightshade members. Just as she begins piecing everything together, someone places a black hood over her head, cutting her investigation short. The story continues from the moment Wednesday is struck on the head with a sack and finds herself surrounded by masked people. It turns out that the Nightshades haven't entirely disappeared, as Marilyn claimed. Among their members are Xavier, Yoko, Ajax, and Bianca. We learn that Rowan was expelled from the Nightshades. Xavier insists that Bianca approve Wednesday's request to join the group, but this is not the kind of company that interests her, so she leaves. Next, we see Principal Larissa Weems announcing the annual Community Outreach Day, during which Nevermore students work alongside normies at their businesses. Larissa informs everyone that Wednesday has offered her services as a cellist for Jericho High School's marching band. Later in town, Wednesday shows Xavier a drawing made by Rowan's mother. It depicts Joseph Crackstone, the founder of Jericho, standing next to Wednesday. Xavier still believes Rowan may be alive, so let's look into it further. Meanwhile, the sheriff receives orders to track down the bear that is allegedly terrorizing and killing Jericho residents. Interestingly, our main character has already defeated bullies in a fight, including the mayor's son, Walker. Wednesday convinces Enid to join her elsewhere for Community Outreach Day. While Ajax and Enid work at Eerie Antiques, the main character heads to Pilgrim World. Enid is thrilled because she has a crush on Ajax. Meanwhile, Wednesday reunites with Eugene and others for a Pilgrim World Tour led by Arlene. Wednesday is eager to learn more about Joseph Crackstone and establish her connection to him. Arlene keeps a close watch on the kids while Eugene, Bianca, and Wednesday sell taffy. However, Enid and Ajax feel uncomfortable at the antique shop. Connie, the owner of the shop, assigns Enid and Ajax the task of untangling and organizing the delicate trinkets made from taxidermy rats. Meanwhile, Wednesday discusses Joseph Crackstone's brutal and bloody history and the town of Jericho with visitors. She mentions the horrific deeds of racist colonists who massacred and pillaged indigenous people. During Community Outreach Day, Eugene encounters the 3 bullies from the coffee shop who mock him for eating taffy. They lock him in stocks. Fortunately, Wednesday comes to his rescue and skillfully puts the bullies in their place. Meanwhile, at the cafe, Larissa Weems speaks with Mayor Walker. They discuss the significant contribution that Nevermore Academy has made to the mayor's election campaign. Marilyn overhears their conversation, and Larissa advises her to keep a close eye on Wednesday, whom she calls the braided upstart. Afterward, Wednesday helps Eugene clean himself up and remarks that he reminds her of Pugsley. Eugene admits that he has no friends, but it seems that now he has one, Wednesday. Wednesday needs help sneaking into Joseph Crackstone's museum to examine the exhibits. Eugene assists her, and she finds an interesting book, which unfortunately turns out to be just a prop. They get caught by Arlene, who sternly scolds both Wednesday and Eugene. Meanwhile, at the antique shop, Enid tries to bring up the topic of romantic relationships, but Ajax stubbornly ignores her obvious hints. Finally, she directly tells him that she wants to go on a date. Ajax invites her and they set a time to meet. Later, Wednesday and Xavier meet again at the cafe. Xavier is upset when he finds out that Wednesday came to talk to Tyler. He warns her against interacting with him, making Wednesday wonder why there is still tension between the two. Tyler tells Wednesday about Joseph Crackstone's property. Wednesday decides to investigate the abandoned building in the woods. Together with Thing, she encounters a homeless man. Thing distracts him while Wednesday explores the premises. Suddenly, she experiences a powerful vision and is transported 400 years into the past. She sees a blonde girl she had previously encountered in another vision. The girl looks just like Wednesday. Joseph Crackstone appears before her in all his terrifying glory. It turns out that this girl is her ancestor, Goody Addams. Joseph accuses Goody of witchcraft and condemns her, along with others, including her mother, to death by fire. He locks them all in a barn and sets it ablaze. Goody tries to save her mother, but her mother urges her to escape through a hidden passage. Wednesday finds herself inside the barn, witnessing everything firsthand. Goody approaches Wednesday and warns her that Joseph Crackstone will not stop until he completely destroys her bloodline. Joseph triumphantly declares that Wednesday will not be able to escape. Suddenly, Wednesday regains consciousness. She tells Thing about her vision, but before they can discuss it further, they notice the familiar gaze of the monster watching them. Wednesday realizes that the creature's paw prints gradually transition into human footprints. When Xavier finds her in the rain, they discuss what she has discovered. Xavier agrees with Wednesday that something is wrong with Rowan. They also talk about her developing psychic abilities. Victor Thorpe, Xavier's well-known father, is also a psychic. He advises Wednesday not to rely solely on what she sees. Visions are based on emotions, not logic. Later, everyone gathers in the town square to witness the unveiling of a new statue honoring Joseph Crackstone. The mayor and Larissa officially present it. Wednesday performs an instrumental rendition of Don't Stop alongside the town's marching band. But suddenly, the statue bursts into flames. Things doing. Wednesday changes the melody and starts playing Vivaldi's Winter on her cello, while the bronze Joseph Crackstone burns. Both the townspeople and Nevermore students flee in panic. It's quite a spectacular way to strike back at a colonizer. Later, despite Wednesday's insistence on her innocence, Larissa harshly reprimands her. Wednesday calls out Larissa for denying the violent, racist history on which Jericho was built. Larissa warns her that she is watching her every move. Meanwhile, Enid gets ready for her date with Ajax. While taking a shower, Ajax accidentally turns himself into stone because the towel he used to cover the mirror slips, and he sees his reflection. However, for Gorgons, this effect is only temporary. Enid assumes that Ajax has stood her up. Larissa tosses a yearbook page featuring Morticia into the fire. She hates Morticia, and it seems that's the reason for her hostility toward Wednesday. Meanwhile, Dr. Valerie sews clothes for taxidermy animals, indulging her bizarre hobbies. Tyler lies at the bottom of a filled bathtub, crying, while Xavier emerges from a barn with mysterious scratches on his neck. The homeless man is found dead. The sheriff and his team arrive at the ruins in the woods. He was killed by the monster. They find a camera with footage that could reveal the identity of the culprit. The sheriff is convinced that there can be only one monster, but the most dangerous shadows are the ones that hide when no one is looking. In the fourth episode, they are almost caught by the coroner and Sheriff Galpin, who also decide to visit the morgue late at night to speed up the police investigation. However, the excursion turns out to be successful. Wednesday learns more about the monster. In its beast form, the monster tears apart and devours its victims, but in human form, it acts like a serial killer. This is because the creature used a sword to cut off 2 toes from a homeless man, as if collecting trophies. In fact, all previous victims had missing organs or body parts. Thus, the monster's attacks may not be random, but rather carefully planned by someone who can transform into a beast. Wednesday begins to suspect Xavier, a troubled artist who can bring his paintings to life. Her suspicions only grow stronger after the events of episode 3. Xavier appeared immediately after the monster's last sighting. He is now hiding strange claw marks on his neck. Determined to uncover the truth, Wednesday follows Xavier and sneaks into his locked-up art studio in the woods. Her suspicions are confirmed. The entire shed is filled with paintings and drawings of the monster. That is enough proof for Wednesday. She steals some of the drawings and takes them to the sheriff. However, as she leaves the building, Xavier catches her and demands an explanation. To cover her tracks, Wednesday is forced to invite him to the Raven dance. Xavier is thrilled by the invitation, making it clear that he has feelings for Wednesday. Wednesday suggests teaming up with Sheriff Galpin to catch the monster. At first, Galpin is skeptical about accepting help from a teenager, but after seeing the drawings, he realizes that having eyes inside Nevermore could be useful. He agrees to cooperate, but demands solid evidence. The first clue comes from Eugene, who recognizes the mysterious symbols in Xavier's drawings. They match the entrance to a nearby cave. Wednesday and Eugene head to the cave and discover a massive amount of animal bones, chains attached to the stone wall, possibly an early attempt by the monster to control its violent instincts. A claw, which can be used for a DNA test. To confirm her suspicions, Wednesday returns to Xavier's studio and steals a tissue soaked in his blood from the wound on his neck. She plans to compare his DNA with the claw, but this time Xavier catches her in the act. He realizes that Wednesday has been following him all this time and that her invitation to the dance was merely a cover. Xavier explains that he has been haunted by nightmares about the monster, and he recreates those terrifying images in his paintings. Moreover, one of his paintings accidentally came to life before the monster scratched his neck. Wednesday analyzes his story again. While his version of events makes sense, she keeps a sample of his blood to verify her suspicions. Wednesday's deception breaks Xavier's heart, and for a moment, a hint of sorrow appears in her eyes. It turns out that even the most ruthless member of the Addams family has a heart. However, she suppresses her emotions and sends the claw along with Xavier's blood sample to the sheriff, promising to explain everything once the results come in. Unfortunately for Wednesday, fate keeps forcing her to form emotional connections, no matter how much she tries to avoid them. In episode 3, all the students are preparing for the Raven dance, searching for dresses, looking for dates, or helping with decorations. Only Wednesday seems indifferent to the event. Her roommate, Enid, is overjoyed when she finds out that Xavier invited Wednesday. She insists that Wednesday needs a dress, dragging her on a shopping trip to Jericho. While Wednesday tries to talk to the sheriff, she pauses for a moment to admire a strange black dress in a store. In Jericho, Wednesday runs into Tyler, who asks her to go to the dance with him, but she admits that she's already agreed to go with Xavier, even though she felt like she had no choice. Tyler is disappointed, as he genuinely believes there's a connection between them and hopes to grow closer to her. But then Thing takes matters into his own hands. As soon as Xavier leaves, Thing writes a letter pretending to be Wednesday and invites Tyler to the dance. When the night of the Raven arrives, Wednesday is preparing to hunt the monster in the woods, but suddenly, Tyler knocks on her door, deeply moved by her message. Wednesday is furious at Thing, but when he confesses that he stole the dress she liked, she decides to go along with the romantic evening. The dance goes smoothly, aside from the usual teenage drama. During the event, we learn more about the characters. Principal Weems hates the Raven because in her youth she had a crush on Morticia, who attended the dance with another girl. Weems also resents Wednesday, believing that Morticia ruined her relationship when she fell in love with Gomez. Bianca decides to win back Xavier and invites him to the dance. However, when Xavier asks her to use her siren powers to help him forget Wednesday, she gets angry and walks out on him. Enid, seeking revenge, decides to go to the dance with Lucas. Lucas promises to help her make Ajax jealous, but in reality, he is planning a cruel prank. His friends pour red paint into Nevermore's water pipes, so when the fire alarm is pulled, all the outcasts will be drenched in crimson. However, after spending time with Enid, Lucas starts to see that outcasts are just like everyone else. Despite his guilt, he still goes through with the plan due to peer pressure. As the dance is ruined, Ajax apologizes to Enid, and they kiss under the stars. But the night ends in disaster. Eugene feels abandoned when Wednesday chooses to go to the dance with Tyler, so he heads to the cave alone. While waiting for the monster, he sees a man drive up and throw a Molotov cocktail inside. Moments later, the monster appears and starts chasing him. Wednesday has a vision of Eugene in mortal danger. She rushes into the woods to save him, but she arrives too late. The monster attacks Eugene, and just before the credits roll, we don't know if he survives. A new day begins, and the Addams family returns to the school, something Wednesday immediately notices. As for Eugene, he was saved, although he remains in critical condition. Once the family reunites, Wednesday quickly hints at the strange things going on, impressing Gomez. Within minutes, they all visit the principal. After all, they went to school together. However, a problem arises. Morticia's photograph has mysteriously disappeared. Even more important is figuring out why Wednesday remains unaffected by the local therapy. Gomez suggests that the whole family visit a therapist, and they agree. Thus, the Addams family heads into town, surprising the sheriff. He is convinced that Gomez was once involved in serious trouble at the school. His thoughts are interrupted by a phone call. The medical examiner has died. The therapy session begins, and Wednesday wastes no time presenting the old case file. She is especially curious why Gomez was blamed back then. Morticia's expression immediately changes, and she asks her daughter to let the matter go. When the family refuses to speak the truth, the therapist asks them to leave. Meanwhile, the police suggest the medical examiner's death was a suicide. However, it's difficult to confirm. The surveillance camera had been covered with black chewing gum. Additionally, the examiner left a note expressing guilt over his role in the old case involving Gomez. While walking through the town square, Wednesday notices Morticia sneaking away and follows her, leading to Garrett Gates' grave, the very boy Gomez was once accused of killing. Back at school, Gomez offers to reveal the truth, but Morticia opposes him, fearing that no one will believe them. Suddenly, the sheriff crashes a banquet and arrests Gomez. In jail, Gomez tells Wednesday everything. Garrett was obsessed and had planned to kill Gomez out of hatred for his old and noble family. One night, Garrett broke into the school with the intention to murder him, but during the struggle, Gomez accidentally killed Garrett while defending himself. Wednesday visits the sheriff and tries to convince him of Gomez's innocence. She finds it suspicious that the medical examiner died the very day Gomez returned to town, but the sheriff remains indifferent. To make things worse, the DNA test had been tampered with. Back at school, Wednesday sneaks into the secret belladonna room. Morticia is already there, understanding exactly why Wednesday has come. She admits the truth. It was she who accidentally killed Garrett. Hearing her scream, Gomez chose to take the blame to protect her. Garrett wasn't an ordinary boy. To uncover the full truth, they needed to exhume his body. Although the police quickly arrested them, there was just enough time to retrieve a key piece of evidence. The cloth found was soaked in poison. This proved Garrett was already poisoned before he was wounded. Wednesday then has a new vision. That day, someone had handed Garrett a bottle which he was supposed to mix into the school's punch. However, the bottle accidentally shattered. The next day, Wednesday and present their version of the events. The mayor, who had once been the town's sheriff, already knew the truth. He explains that Garrett hated Nevermore Academy, believing it was built on his family's land. He truly intended to harm the students, but for the sake of the town's reputation, the case was covered up. The Addams family asks for only one thing: an apology and Gomez's release. In the evening, the family prepares to leave. Morticia gifts Wednesday a book she'll like, but the content of the book shocks Wednesday. She rushes to the principal and shows an old photograph. Their conversation is interrupted by a scream. Someone has sent a message. At night, fire will fall from the sky. Wednesday tries to contact Goody, but without success. Instead, she is given a note with the meeting location. Arriving at the crypt, they find the doors open, and the unpleasant smell forces Enid to stay outside. She didn't suspect that everything was set up as a surprise, a sign for her birthday. Instead, she finds an inscription in Latin, after which Wednesday experiences another seizure. This time, Goody gives a clear hint, pointing to the right house. Back at school, Wednesday tries to decipher the meaning of the phrase. Though Xavier offers his help, Wednesday hesitates to trust him, suspecting he might be the monster. Meanwhile, the mayor receives an urgent parcel with the death certificate of Laura Grace. Upon arriving in town, Wednesday gives Tyler a sketch of the gates she remembered, but he has no idea where they are. Since no one can help, Wednesday is forced to turn to Xavier. He tells her that he saw these gates in a vision a few days ago and knows where they are located. The lock on the gates is open, but unexpected footsteps force Wednesday to hide. The mayor walks out of the house. A distraction diverts his attention, allowing Wednesday to sneak into the car. Soon, she witnesses an assassination attempt on the mayor. The sheriff starts questioning her, asking what she was doing in the mayor's car. She tries again to express her suspicions, but the sheriff remains indifferent and takes her back to school. The principal seizes the opportunity to forbid Wednesday from leaving the building. A new day begins. Wednesday is assigned a meeting place, which the sheriff notices, hinting that she should stay away. Later in the evening, Wednesday asks Enid for help, and she agrees, but only on the condition that Wednesday wears a scarf. In the car, everyone realizes that their plans have suddenly changed. Meanwhile, Xavier searches for Wednesday and discovers that she's missing. The group tries to break into the house. Thanks to Enid's werewolf strength, they manage to break the door. Inside, they find the car that hit the mayor. During the search of the house, they uncover a hidden passage, where they find an altar with the inscription, "Blood will spill, and I will rise." Realizing they are on the right track, the friends decide to split up for a quicker search. Wednesday stumbles upon Laura's room. It's perfectly preserved, which seems impossible since Laura died 20 years ago. Suddenly, there's a loud noise. The girls hide in the elevator, but the monster cuts the cable. They fall into an underground laboratory. The only way out is through the window. During their escape, they find an injured Tyler. Xavier suddenly appears, confused and unaware of what's happening. All that remains is to return to Tyler's house and get him to his father. But when they arrive, everything has changed. Back at school, Wednesday shows the warning Rowan left. She's convinced that she is the one who will save this place. Enid finally understands. No matter how hard she tries to be friends with Wednesday, she will always put her goals above people. After Enid leaves, Wednesday gets the idea to check the mailbox. She finds numerous photographs of her family and herself. Meanwhile, someone kills the mayor. The next day, the whole town is in mourning. During the funeral, Wednesday notices a suspicious man and starts a chase. It turns out to be her uncle Fester, who understands exactly what is going on here. Fester helps them figure out what monster they're up against. Comparing the drawings, he tells them about a similar case. A gifted girl once accidentally transformed and killed people. But the problem is, Wednesday doesn't know this type of monster, although she has read almost every book. The only book she's missing is Faulkner's journal, the man who once found all the outcasts. Wednesday learns that the journal is hidden in the library in a secret safe. Later that night, Wednesday sneaks into the library where she's met by Xavier. He's curious about who her uncle is and why she's wasting time on books, which he believes contain nothing useful. Wednesday still believes in her investigation. Despite his help, she only sees Xavier as a possible monster. Once Xavier leaves, her uncle emerges from hiding, thrilled to meet Richie, as is Richie himself. Now, all that's left is to open the safe, and indeed, they find the journal with the crucial information about the monster. From its contents, it becomes clear. The mutation is usually hidden until a certain moment, and the monster always becomes someone's servant. A new day arrives. During a phone conversation, Wednesday becomes even more convinced that the monster is Xavier, so she decides to follow him without drawing attention. Later, Xavier meets with Kinbot. He had a dream about her death. Meanwhile, the family enters a cafe. Uncle quickly snacks on ketchup, and Tyler wonders what kind of monster this is. At night, Tyler arranges a surprise for Wednesday near the crypt. At the same time, the police find Uncle's motorcycle and begin searching, bursting into the crypt at the worst moment. Wednesday manages to return to her room, where she finds complete chaos and Richie pinned to the wall. Wednesday immediately takes Richie to her uncle. After a series of shocks, Richie comes back to life. That same night, the principal informs her Faulkner tried to study the Hyde monster but was killed by it, and after that, many were expelled from Nevermore. A new day brings a revelation. Bianca manages to find out that the mayor was investigating a case from 20 years ago. Laura Gates was declared dead from drowning, but her body was never found. Wednesday visits the doctor, convinced that Laura Gates is alive and pretending to be someone else. The mayor figured everything out and was destroyed because of it. Among the evidence, Wednesday finds familiar roses, the same ones she gave to Eugene. However, just as Wednesday leaves, the monster goes hunting again. The sheriff announces that the doctor is dead. Wednesday runs to Xavier, who has many pieces of evidence. Despite his assurances that everything was set up, he is arrested. After that, Wednesday visits Tyler, and during their touch, she has a new vision. Tyler personally killed the doctor. She runs away without explaining anything. Later, they meet again. Wednesday reveals all the facts, but doesn't understand why Tyler killed his master. At that moment, Bianca and other students emerge from hiding. Bianca uses her siren power to subdue Tyler. He is interrogated. It turns out his mother didn't just have a disorder. She passed on to him the ability to transform into Hyde. Since the other students refused to participate in the attempt to awaken his abilities, everything was handed over to the principal, who then gave it to the sheriff. Meanwhile, already at the police station, Tyler confesses to Wednesday how he became a monster. Wednesday visits Xavier, but he is tired of her distrust and refuses to help. A new day arrives. Wednesday begins packing, deciding that if she leaves, the prophecy will not come true. Before leaving, she promises Eugene she'll find something out. He remembers that the black figure that attacked him wore red boots. This detail leads Wednesday to the real Laurel Gates, who initially denies everything, but Tyler has already told her everything, how he learned about his mother and how Laurel turned him into her weapon. Wednesday almost uncovers the conspiracy, but Laurel manages to knock out the principal. At that moment, Eugene tells Enid who their real enemy is. The room is then stormed by Richie, who shares everything she missed. Even Eugene rises to help. Later, Wednesday regains consciousness. She is chained in the crypt. Laurel is preparing a ritual to resurrect Joseph Crackstone, the founder of the town. For the ritual, she needs a descendant, Wednesday. The ceremony begins. The floor glows with symbols. Crackstone comes back to life, showing his favorite dagger. Goody urges Wednesday not to give up. Her pendant will allow her to heal. Meanwhile, the school evacuation begins. Wednesday faces the resurrected Crackstone, who sets everything around him on fire. During a search of the school, Wednesday arms herself with a sword and faces Crackstone in a duel. Xavier shoots, but Crackstone redirects the arrow back. Wednesday shields him with her body and loses her sword. Eventually, Bianca manages to help, and Wednesday lands the final blow, destroying Crackstone. But even after that, it's not over. Laurel is still alive. She is apprehended by Eugene's army. A new day arrives. Wednesday finishes her investigation, says goodbye to her friends, and heads home. But during the trip, she receives a mysterious message. Someone is still watching her. This marks the end of Season 1.